As the world gets to know Sophie Thatcher on her hit TV show Yellowjackets, which has returned for its second season, considering this is her big breakout role, the actress is still a fresh face in Hollywood. While there's no doubt she'll be going on to act in more projects, performing has always been what Sophie wanted to do. Growing up in a Mormon household, she had a more unique upbringing than some, but nothing stopped her from writing her own screenplays as a kid and eventually getting into theater in her early teens. She might not have had the same crazy story as her character Natalie on Yellowjackets, but there still is a lot more to this up-and-coming star than meets the eye. We'll talk about Sophie Thatcher's childhood, her foray into professional acting, and much more here for you on Famous Life. Sophie Bathsheba Thatcher was born October 18, 2000 in Chicago, Illinois. According to online sources, her parents are Lily and Lawrence and John Swope, but there isn't much information about her family to go on. We also know that Sophie was raised alongside sisters. Growing up, she attended Evanston Township High School, and as a child, she already loved singing and acting. In fact, she started acting when she was only 4 years old. By age 12, Sophie was already having fun writing her own screenplays in her spare time, and her artistic body of work thus far included 103 Dalmatians, a musical and propagation. This was a post-apocalyptic zombie drama set in the world of The Sims, which featured characters like a turtle named Snappy. So clearly, Sophie had quite the imagination. She went to a performing arts school for musical theater, and in the end, her on-camera experience led her to pursuing more acting than singing. Looking back, Sophie says that the focus she spent on her creative projects as a kid probably lost her some friends. But she grew up Mormon in the suburbs of Chicago, and according to the young actress, there wasn't much to do. In terms of her religion, Sophie ended up leaving the church at 13. Sophie and her sisters loved to put on shows at home. She also was a twin, Ellie, and in an old email she had sent to Ellie, she talks about the audition process for one of her plays, along with character descriptions and monologues to memorize. Keep in mind, this was just one that Sophie thought up for fun. Talking about growing up, Sophie adds, "I'm already pretty introspective, and growing up Mormon instilled a lot of anxiety in me, as most religions do, but it also forced me to rebel to some extent. It forced me to be different, to go all the way in the other direction." Well, as a kid, Sophie was already destined to be an actress. Her big imagination, her love for art, she actually wanted to be a painter, and her love for performing all pointed in that direction. When opening up about how her acting career eventually begun, Sophie explained in an interview that it began in musical theater. When she was 14 years old, she started a production of Anne Frank in Chicago in a local small black box theater. However, it went on for 8 months, so it was a steady gig for someone who was transitioning from the 8th grade to high school. According to Sophie, she said about this time in her life, "It was when all my friends were starting to party and go out at night, and I was like, nope, I have a show tomorrow. I'd love to go back to live theater. It's such a crazy different experience than film, and I'm so glad I started with it." After this, Sophie continued to work a lot in Chicago theater and made a name for herself locally. All of the actors she knew from the stage were eventually doing auditions for shows like Chicago Med and Chicago PD, and Sophie decided to try acting on Chicago PD. For her, when she got a role, it was the perfect way to kick off her on-screen career, which can be new and scary to be in front of a camera for the first time. Next, Sophie appeared in Fox's supernatural horror series The Exorcist, where she played a younger version of Regan McNeil. In 2018, Sophie made her debut on the big screen in the sci-fi film Prospect, co-starring Pedro Pascal. The movie is about a teenage girl and her father, played by Jay Duplass, who travel to an alien moon with a contract to mine gems in the moon's poisonous forest. And for Sophie's performance, she received positive reviews. The next year, she was in The Tomorrow Man, which was Noble Jones's directorial debut. During this time period, Sophie landed the role we all know her best for now, playing Natalie on Yellowjackets. Yellowjackets is a Showtime original series that details an all-girls soccer team and what happens when they survive a plane crash only to find themselves stranded in the Canadian wilderness. Jumping between past and present, it chronicles the unraveling of social norms over the next year and a half and the emotional aftermath faced by the adult survivors 25 years later. Yellowjackets also boasts a star-studded cast including Christina Ricci, Melanie Lynskey, and Juliette Lewis, whose character Sophie actually plays the younger version of. Sophie's character Natalie is a charming rebel whose attitude hides her troubled past, and once Yellowjackets became a hit, Sophie's performance launched her into Hollywood. For the audition process for the role, Yellowjackets creator Bart Nickerson said the casting department was searching for someone who was really free-spirited and unique who could play both a sort of wilderness and a vulnerability. While most of the auditions were in person, Sophie submitted a self-recorded audition tape and was actually cast as Natalie before Juliette Lewis was cast as her adult counterparts. Pilot episode is greenlit in September and shot in LA in November 2019. In 2020, Sophie starred in When the Streetlights Go On, which was a short-form streaming series on Quibi, and later that year it was rumored Sophie would be joining the Mandalorian franchise, but it was unknown in which series she would appear. She would end up appearing in the Book of Boba Fett as Drash, the leader of a group of cyborgs who work for Boba Fett. At the end of 2020, Showtime gave Yellowjackets a series order, and when it premiered in 2021, it became the second most streamed series in Showtime history behind Dexter: New Blood. Considering the show has been such a success, Sophie may be a part of Yellowjackets for years to come too, and the creators of the series revealed that they have a 5-season story arc in mind. Sophie's performance in Yellowjackets further landed her a starring role in the upcoming 2023 horror mystery The Boogeyman, based on Stephen King's short story of the same name, where she will star alongside Chris Messina. While her current focus is on acting, Sophie Thatcher is a talented young star with a ton of creative interests, from fiction writing to visual arts, and even producing her own music under her middle name Bathsheba. She also once revealed in an interview, "I would love to do Broadway one day. I actually sing too, but I don't keep up with vocal training and everyone on Broadway has that high belt." So, while we watch her amazing performance in season 2 of Yellowjackets in seasons to come, I'm sure we'll only be seeing much more of Sophie in the near future. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Famous Life and leave a comment for who you'd like us to feature next.